Okay, guys, you should have out your own piece of notebook paper. You're going to want to get your notes titled and dated with whatever today's date is. And then we are going to be converting between terminating decimals, fractions, and percents. This should all be a review for you. You should have done this last year in 7th grade. All right, we're going to start with the first one. So the first one's going to be 0.875. So that is a decimal, okay? So since we already have it as a decimal, we're going to change it into a fraction and into a percent. The easiest one to change it to first is going to be a percent. When we change this into a percent, all we have to do is move the decimal, okay? So if the decimal is right here in front of the 8, we need to move it 2 spaces to the right. So 1, 2. So we now have the decimal in between the 7 and the 5. So 0.875 turns into 87.5%. And you have to put the percent sign there. All right, and then we also need to change 0.875 into a fraction. And we have to make sure that our fraction is simplified. This is also pretty easy, and we're going to teach you a shortcut this year as well. So the first thing that you're going to write down is you need to write down the numbers that are behind the decimal. They go on the top of your fraction. So since 0.875, you're going to write down 875 since those are the numbers behind the decimal. And then on the bottom, you always start with the number 1. And then you're going to write down as many zeros as there are numbers on the top. So since there are 3 numbers on top, the 8, the 7, and the 5, you're going to write down 3 zeros on the bottom. Now, remember I just said that it has to be a simplified fraction. So we have to make sure that 875 over 1,000 can't simplify. Last year, you would try and find the number that could go into both the top and the bottom. But this year, we're going to teach you how to punch it into your calculator. Okay? So if you type in 875, and then you're going to push the ABC button on your calculator. It's in the second row. Okay, so go ahead and type in 875, hit the ABC button, and you're going to get a little thing that pops up like this, okay? And then you're going to type in 1,000, and then hit enter. And then if that fraction will reduce, it'll show you the reduced fraction. So 7 over 8 is the fraction answer for this problem. So your 0.875, 87.5%, and 7/8 are all the same thing. This is the decimal version, this is the percent version, and this is the fraction version. All right, let's do another one. All right, if we have a fraction, let's say 1 over 2, if we type in 1 divided by 2, that's going to get us the decimal. We've been doing that the last couple days, so that's pretty easy. So the decimal of 1/2 is 0.5. Then we have to change that to a percent, okay? You're still going to move the decimal 2 places to the right. So I'm going to take this and move it 1, 2. If you have a blank spot, that gets filled in with a 0. So 0.5 is the same thing as 50%. All right, let's do another one. This time I'm going to give you a percent. So if I give you 37%, you can either do a fraction first or you can do a decimal first. It doesn't really matter. So for a fraction, let's do a decimal first. So let's do the decimal first. So in any percent, if the decimal isn't there, so right now it doesn't look like there's a decimal in 37%. But the decimal is always at the end, okay? So we're going to, and instead of moving it 2 places to the right, we're going to move it 2 places to the left. So that 37% is now 0.37 as the decimal. Okay? So if you're going from a decimal to percent, you move it to the right. Move decimal to the right. If you're going from a percent to a decimal, you move it to the left. Okay. Make sure you get that written down. You'll probably need to pause the video and write that down. So now we're going to make this into a fraction. Okay? So you always take the values that are behind the decimal. So we're going to put 37 on the top. And then you always start with a 1. And however many digits there are, so 1 digit, 2 digits, so we're going to put 2 zeros. And then we have to see if it'll reduce. So we're going to take 37, hit that ABC button, and then type in 100 and hit enter. Notice on your calculator that it went back and all it says is 37 over 100. That means that that fraction won't reduce. So 37 over 100 is your final answer. That's your final answer then. Okay, let's go ahead and do another one. All right, so 45.5%. Now these ones are usually the ones that people get confused on because this looks like it's a decimal because it has a decimal in there and a percent. So people get confused on whether, well, isn't it already a decimal? Well, if it has the percent sign, then they gave you the percent. So we still need to find the decimal, okay? Even though there's already a decimal in there, it's still a percent. So we still have to change it. So we're going to move the decimal 2 places to the right. 2 places to the left. 1, 2. So that the decimal is 0.455. And then we're going to turn that into a fraction. So we're going to put these numbers on the top, 455. And then we always start with a 1 on the bottom. And then there are 3 digits there. So 1, 2, 3. And then you need to see if it will simplify. So type it in using your ABC button. And you should get 91 over 200. So those are your final answers then.